snacks? What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. That's Jokes.
Yo.
That's Sin.
Yes, sir.
This is Loading Snacks Weekly.
Yep.
Where we get together once a week and talk about things that are happening in pop culture.
Yes.
About 20 minutes. That means we gotta move. We got things we gotta talk about.
Yep.
And today,
It's on the docket.
we're gonna talk about Sony and Microsoft's decision to let their powers combine and become Captain Planet. And then we're going to follow up. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones coming to an end. There will not be spoilers. We're just going to talk about it coming to an end.
Okay.
And some other things around that. So, having said that,
Okay.
in order to give you time to mentally prepare yourself to talk about Game of Thrones, we're going to start by talking about Microsoft and Sony.
I appreciate it.
Okay? So, Microsoft and Sony announced earlier this week that they are forming a partnership, which was a big surprise
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Major.
Yeah.
Now let's get one thing straight. We're talking about Sony and Microsoft, not necessarily Xbox and PlayStation.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Understand that we know that they own those properties,
But a lot of people, I would say, the gaming community go right, like they go right,
Right
there.
to
When they hear those
PlayStation
names,
and
they
Xbox.
go right there. Like
Why
people don't
wouldn't
think
you?
about them as a whole entire company and
right,
stuff like that.
and all the other aspects of what they do.
Exactly.
So, the crux of the partnership is around Microsoft's cloud-based technology, their Azure technology, and AI development. And Sony basically will be using Microsoft's Azure for cloud gaming. So, and they will be working together in tandem and sharing pieces of what they're learning and what's happening or whatever with that. Now, it's not the only thing that they're going to be working on together, because they will also be working on, like Sony specifically has some really solid technologies in AI and so forth, and so they'll be sharing some of that too. So it is a mutually beneficial partnership for both. But for the purposes of our conversation here and how it might affect pop culture, we're going to talk about cloud gaming. Okay? For anybody who's unaware, Microsoft has already come out and said next Xboxes there will be streaming. Like, they're talking about having their cloud streaming service. There's a lot of talk amongst the gaming community and press about this kind of being the console manufacturers and those corporations coming together to combat Stadia. Google and what Google is planning with Stadia. Which makes a lot of sense. Right? And my personal opinion, before I ask for yours, is that Sony's behind the 8 ball.
I think we all agree on that.
Where they are in terms of winning the hardware battle this generation, leaps and bounds ahead.
Right.
But even Nintendo is streaming games in Japan. Resident Evil 7, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Even Nintendo is streaming games, okay? It's coming. And even though Sony spent a lot of money purchasing Gaikai, it is my personal assertion of what they've been able to do in the 7 years since they purchased Gaikai with PlayStation Now and so forth, that they do not know what they're doing. They do not have the people and or the infrastructure in place
to handle,
to compete
with where gaming is headed.
When you look at the largest cloud server owning companies are Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. And whether you know it or not, PlayStation Network itself runs on Amazon's structure.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Did not know that.
Now you know that. So, again, strategic partnership, right? And one way or the other, Microsoft is in a better position as far as gaming is concerned because of what they already own with cloud
Absolutely.
based, so forth. And I think that there is something very strategic and smart about, as a console manufacturer to console manufacturer, we got to do something, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, we cannot let this, you know what I mean, come in and be an issue, because we're talking about a company that has the power in Google to possibly really interrupt things.
Be a threat.
It's a Game of Thrones reference. What's the name? Google with Stadia. That's
Don't get no spoilers.
No. It's
Okay.
the Night King coming.
Mm-hmm.
We need to come together.
We gotta come
stop beefing
together
with
and
each
do
other
it.
and take care of that.
Right.
I understood that reference.
My man.
No spoiler.
Now, here's the other thing about that, though, is that Amazon has been hiring and building their own gaming services and platforms and so forth in the background. They're putting development teams together for games. It's a serious thing, and we know that gaming, video games, is the biggest entertainment industry there is, period. It's bigger than movies, it's bigger than TV, it's what it is, right? But even movies and TV have already gone to streaming.
Yeah.
Gaming is going that direction. So, what that says to me is, whatever the next version of the PlayStation 5 is, even if the first iteration of it isn't that,
they're making sure
it's going to be there. It's in that pipeline.
They're trying to get that cloud service streaming gaming thing, making sure they have it in that console.
They need to have. The thing that Sony's biggest issue is probably their infrastructure.
Yeah.
PlayStation
I think
Network
we've
is
been
their
saying that
weakest
for a
link.
while.
Absolutely.
PlayStation now is as well.
Yeah, as simple as it should be to change your name or whatever. Like, the difficulty that has been behind that, just being able to get that, like, that just shows, the infrastructure.
And that's not to say that, like, Sony doesn't have brilliant people as smart. Like, Mark Cerny is one of the most brilliant people on this planet when it comes to that kind of stuff, period. There's no two ways about it. But Sony is a hardware company, first and foremost, not a software company. Where they put their dollars wasn't in the
software side.
It was in the hardware side of things. Where Microsoft, they put money in the hardware side of things, but they have been a software company first and foremost.
Yeah.
And Sony and Microsoft have been partners forever. Forever.
Yeah,
They have always had things working. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Xbox One X, for all of the power and all that kind of stuff it has, still one of the greatest selling points of it is that it has a 4K Blu-ray player in it. And we do understand that Sony has ownership over parts of that technology, right? So, like, you can't really have an Xbox that has a Blu-ray player in it and Sony doesn't get some cut of that.
And it's like you said, like, when you found the credits at the end of Spider-Man.
Right, that Microsoft owns the Having engine.
Yeah, that they
and
use
people are making Sony exclusive games using an engine that's owned by Microsoft.
Right.
Microsoft is getting a cut of every single Spider-Man game sold. Like, let's just,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying? Like, those kinds of things, they exist. That's business.
Right.
That's business. You fanboy all you want.
Yep, straight up.
That's business.
It's about making money.
Isn't it, though?
Yep.
Without that money, they can't do anything.
It's
So
about spending money. And they
And collecting.
fans spend it, right?
Oh, yeah, we do.
So how do you feel about this? Where are you?
I'm pretty cool. Like, this is one of those things, just like you said, even though there's been partnerships between Sony and Microsoft forever, I feel like this is the first time that one has truly come to the forefront of, say, for someone that's not like us, that knows some of the behind the scenes, what goes into some of the, to actually be on front, like, look, here's Microsoft, here's Sony, shaking hands right now.
Yeah.
We're coming together.
And that's what the picture was, right? I mean,
straight up.
But it's not like it was Phil Spencer.
Right.
I mean, it
Right,
was Satya Nadella who runs Microsoft.
Microsoft.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not the video game
Right,
people.
right,
Exactly.
Now, I will say this. Before I find out, I will say this. We did find out in a report that apparently the people who run PlayStation did not know about this.
Well,
like literally, like there are reports that have come out that are saying like people who worked at PlayStation were literally going to their managers like, "Yo, what is this?" And they're like literally like managers at PlayStation were having to reassure them that everything's cool. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. And sometimes it's just like you don't necessarily need to know
every little. Yeah.
Sony has so much more going on in PlayStation, but let's keep in mind that Sony's business as a whole has suffered, with the exception of PlayStation.
Right.
I mean, it looked like for a minute PlayStation might have been all that there was. But PlayStation is about a third of their business total. It's a large part of it. But it's also known that Sony as a company tends to work in silos, right? And so it's not necessarily known what PlayStation is doing versus what's happening at this part of Sony versus what's happening at this part. Where Microsoft seems to have gotten past that a long time ago. Like, it used to be that the Xbox people were siloed and they were off. And they have done a great job over, like, the last couple of years of, like,
bringing everybody
bringing having them talk to each other because that's what it is. So, having that news, where are you?
Honestly, I like it. I like that it's looking like Sony's finally, like... Okay, they've realized that it's time to make a change. You know what I mean? And Microsoft, even though they're one of our biggest competitors, you know what I mean? Microsoft has the infrastructure, they have stuff in place that we need to go forward. We have something that they might need to go forward. And Google's now, like we said, Google's now jumping into this fight, and they are an entity that...
They came out swinging.
This is about to be war.
Like straight up, we can't handle it on our own. You know what I'm saying? Let's do what we got to do to compete with what Google is bringing to the table. Coming this year. Let's do it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
One of the things about it for me is that, like, I feel like, you know, Phil Spencer's been talking about what they're doing with their cloud gaming, and like he's like, yeah, I've been playing Forza on my phone. Like, I'm out so and so. I've been playing Destiny with people, but I've been playing on my phone using my controller or whatever. Like, I'm off in Hawaii doing whatever, right? And somewhere down the line, because apparently these negotiations started like a long time ago. Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, Sony saw, like, has actually seen it working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like Azure is not used by tons of companies and has been for a long time. So it is well known in the business world and so forth, and a lot of companies do use it. They use that infrastructure. They do have a lot of server farms and so forth that are in place. I think it is a great move. Not just for gamers and gaming, but for console gamers specifically. It's a smart move. And it means that we're less likely to see the downfall of a company that really deserves to continue to be at the forefront of that kind of a thing. And I feel like it's one of those things where, you know, the last time Sony tried to make a partnership with somebody, which was Nintendo, they kind of did them dirty. You know what I mean? And there's been a lot of talk about Microsoft having those conversations with Nintendo and partnering with them, and Xbox Live supposedly coming, and them putting Cuphead and stuff like that on the Switch. And it's like, okay, Sony's been real quiet. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they've been real quiet, especially on the PlayStation division, and then this happens, and then you find out that they didn't even know necessarily that it was going down, and it's kind of like, but they might have just saved you. You know what I mean, or whatever. So I'm all for it, man. It just makes me feel like the technology that's behind it might be further along than we realized than we thought. And it probably works better than we may have realized. And even though the infrastructure might not be in place for the internet everywhere the way people are expecting, I think by the time these next consoles come out,
it'll be pretty much ready to go.
So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm pretty sure we'll get a lot more information throughout the year.
No doubt.
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. All right, listen. Game of Thrones is over.
It is.
It's over. It's the end of an era.
It is definitely the end of an era. It has come to an end for now.
How amazing is it that this phase of the MCU ended? Right? And Game of Thrones basically started this season. Started like right when that came to an end. Here we are a few weeks later.
Yeah. I thought about that, like, seems like this is a year of like an end of a lot of eras.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this year is.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, we're going into probably what is one of the most talked about years
Yeah.
in science fiction, in whatever. It's always 2020.
Yeah.
2020 is a big, so we gotta shut some things down in 2019.
Start building new again.
We about to,
like yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's about to be 2020.
2020.
It'll be here before we know it. But yeah, it's crazy. Like just living and being a part of something that has such a massive fan base, almost like a religion. You know what I'm saying? Behind like how people feel about like Star Wars, Star Trek, stuff like that. Like this being that, like it's been an amazing adventure to enjoy and be a part of with the fandom. You know what I'm saying? The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just been one hell of a ride. Like in between seasons, talking with people like, yo, how'd you feel about what happened then? Like, you know what I'm saying? I have a coworker who just started to get ready for the last season. He's coming to me every single day at work like, yo, this episode, like, where you at? I just saw what happened to such and such. I'm like, I told you. I said, I told you weren't ready yet. Like, you was just getting started. Like, yeah. Like, me and my wife blew through it in like 2 weeks. Like, we just couldn't stop. Like, yeah, like, it's one of them type of shows, man. It's amazing what it's done for just pop culture and just everything. Like, salute to HBO. You know what I'm saying? For taking, taking it and doing what they do.
Yeah.
Martin.
For creating these characters in this world. Like, yeah, absolutely.
People are real upset.
They are. There's a lot of controversy.
Oh, that's the worst.
And can you know what, here's the thing, right? I mean, I don't want to get too deep into what exactly why people are upset or whatever.
I'm gonna say that for later.
I just want to. You know what? I just want to say that anytime something you really enjoy comes to an end, it's hard to let it go.
It's hard to let it
I
go.
really think it's more about that. Regardless of what people are actually saying, petitions, all that, I really feel like it's more about that. I feel like it's more about
not wanting to let it go.
No, I can agree.
like not knowing what's
not wanting to accept that
next.
it's the end and there's nothing after this.
Well, there's nothing that is specifically this after this, right? Because we know that there's spinoffs coming.
Spinoffs, right? But
we don't know what, we don't know who, we don't know what capacity, we don't know where.
From what I know, there's not going to be like a sequel to this. It's other stories and stuff like that, right? So
prequel maybe.
Yeah, the prequel's what's working on next. But as far as this storyline, this is just this is the end of it.
This is it.
Yeah, this is the end.
Right, and I mean, that's hard. It's hard for people to let go of something that they like so much. So it isn't the same thing as having Star Trek. We have a show and a movie. And it kind of begins to live and get its own life, and it builds up, and this has that following.
It does.
Then you give it another movie. Then you give it another movie, right? And then you branch off, and you get a Next Generation, and you get a Deep Space Nine. You get a Discovery, right? So the possibilities for what this is in terms of franchise and what else,
it's massive. This is just the beginning. That's all.
Listen. I don't Game of Thrones. I totally respect. I respect anybody's fandom. You know what I mean? Because I understand what it is to be a fan and have a fandom. You know what I mean?
Not a fan. Like I'm not a fan of Star Trek like that. But the following behind it, I can't deny that. Maybe I just don't see it.
Sure.
True.
Like I can't deny that it's not. I can't go and say Star Trek sucks because obviously I'm just missing whatever it is.
Right.
It's so many people.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I can't just throw that out there.
Speaking languages.
Yes. Which what's that? Game of Thrones has.
Dothraki,
yes, they have a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
So like, when you have something that's that big, right? I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that there's a Game of Thrones convention. I don't know what they call them. Throners? What are they?
Throners.
Are you gots?
Is it Thronies? I don't
know. I don't like that.
I don't like it either. But like, I don't think Game of Thrones fans have that name.
Sure, it's there somewhere. Probably that's a sign.
But it's coming. There's got to be a convention coming. There has to be a thing that's going to happen.
It will be.
You know what I mean?
It will be. It's too big of a show not to happen.
Exactly.
Too big of a fandom now for it not to have its own thing.
I think most of all of that stuff will calm down, and it'll be. But again, it is the end.
It will.
Of
like people are just coming off the ending, so give it time to sink in, die down, and
I mean, look. Unfortunately, whether you were happy with the way it ended or not, the fact that it's different from the books, the fact that the books are incomplete, whatever, right?
Right, that's a whole nother thing.
Right, but the difference between this and so many other things that have huge fandoms is that this was able to come to a definitive end because they knew it was coming to an end, and they were able to do it. A lot of times, a show just gets canceled.
I know,
right?
and then there's no
you know
conclusion,
You don't
no
get
solid
anything,
ending.
and there are people who love it and they still watch it or whatever.
We actually got to the ending.
Exactly.
Yeah, that it's rare. It's rare that happens.
And because that happened, people are like, "But wait," you know what I mean? Like,
we want more.
Right?
Like,
when a show ends, like, and it's like they had a season and they just didn't get renewed for the next season. It wasn't like, "Hey, listen, we're only doing this many seasons or whatever." All of the anger goes into, why aren't we finishing the season? What happened? How come y'all didn't support it? Blah, blah, blah. Why y'all changing it Thursday nights? Nobody watch TV on Thursday. We watching Cosby. I mean, we don't watch Cosby. We watching something else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things where all of the anger and all of the things that people are upset about and the letters they write, petitions they start, is to get a show back on or is to keep it going, move it to another channel.
Yes.
That's another thing that happens now that never used to happen before because there are other places to go. A show gets canceled and doesn't get
renewed. No one else would pick it up.
Like,
it was just like it was done. Lucifer
was a big show that I actually enjoyed, and I was like, okay, and I was happy. Like, okay, bet I like that. Yeah,
that's a thing that
happens now.
Yeah, yes. You know what I mean. And so, because it's come to a definitive end, the people who are writing and upset or whatever actually have a thing to say. I didn't like the way it ended. You know what I mean, or whatever, right?
Right.
Nobody liked the way a particular show ended that didn't get another season.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It ended.
Right. Now what? You know? So, I mean, I think it's cool, man. I think it'll live on in fan fiction. You know what I mean?
Oh, it will. Because,
of course, certainly.
George still has to finish this storyline in his series of books.
Correct.
He still has to finish it. So,
correct. It's not and the word on the street now is he working on a game.
I saw that.
With From Software.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, ooh.
People was upset. They like, I know he's not finishing finishing this book because he's over there making games.
I understand that with it. I understand that with it. We get that in anime all the time. You know, like, I understand that with it. Like, hey, why are you working on that? Come on, finish this.
Right.
Finish this. I gotta go over here and do this right quick. Don't worry.
It's a rare thing.
Like, I get it. It's sad, but everything comes to an end. And, you know, I'm happy that I was,
got to be a part of it and see it all the way through.
From beginning to end. Absolutely. I'm happy I was, and where the fandom goes further, I'm excited to see what happens.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I'm with that 100%. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments below how you felt about Game of Thrones, about the ending. Did you
y'all can hit me
sign a petition? I just want to know. Listen, I don't even really want to know how you feel. I just want to know, did you sign a petition? That's all I want to know. I just want to know, did you sign a petition? We're not getting into all that. You know what I'm saying? Did you sign a petition? And what do you think about this whole new cloud gaming future and the combo that happened? Let our powers combine. It happened. It's a real. Oh look. Is it that or is it? There's only two of them, so is it like more like 1 or 2 powers activate? All right, now wait. Who's the weak one now? Who only can form water and ice?
Sony.
All right.
I saw it to me, but I just ignore that. Just keep doing it.
We're gonna leave it at that.
Those are my elements anyway. So
with that, we out. Toodles and loose.
What's going on, everybody? Did you like what you saw here just now on Loaded Snacks? If you did, do us a favor. Hit the ding-a-ling bell first and foremost. Like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to patreon.com/Loading Snacks where you can get all the exclusive Loading Snacks content you want, and you can help us cultivate what it is that we do here on our channel.